most of the learners, they face this issue, how to learn how to think in English, because we say that start thinking in English,
Yeah.
because if you translate in your head from your mother tongue to English, then it becomes difficult to be fluent. So
Mhm.
they don't know exactly how to do that, how to develop that habit of thinking in English. Then
Absolutely.
I understand everything, but I can't speak. I understand when I watch movie, when I read books, I understand. But when it comes to speaking, I go blank.
Whatever you've learned from the podcast, either start speaking the brief of it or call a friend to tell them or something, whatever is comfortable in your dynamics. Number one. Number two, or you pause the podcast wherever you've learned an idiom or a phrase or a new word or new sentence or anything that you find is something new for you. You
Mhm.
pause the podcast there and you start to speak that because your pronunciation
Okay.
gets checked through the podcast.
Yes.
You learn a lot and you don't have to write it down because if you're just maintaining notes, there is a
Mhm.
very rare chance you actually go back to those notes and you use them.
Yes. Good afternoon.
Good
How are you
afternoon.
doing?
I am very well. Thank you so much for asking. How are you?
Yeah, I have been also great. Thanks for asking me too.
Wonderful. All right. I think this is our first session together on
Yes,
the platform.
this
So,
is the first session.
so before we jump in, just give me a brief as to what your goals and aims are through these one-on-one sessions so that we can work on those lines.
Okay. So here I am YouTuber.
All right.
I upload my videos on my YouTube, conversational videos, because these days people prefer to watch conversational videos so that they can learn how to talk to people, how to
Absolutely.
sustain the conversation.
Absolutely.
And certain queries are also there. So at times I ask questions to the experts
Sure.
because, yeah, I see that most of the people face some difficulties while learning this language.
Absolutely true. All right. So, what are the basic questions that you get asked a lot when it comes to English language or conversation, as a matter of fact, considering the digital era?
Okay. So when it comes to conversation, at times I get that from learners that they don't know what to ask, how to sustain the conversation. And when it comes to learning English, most of the learners, they face this issue, how to learn how to think in English, because we say that start thinking in English,
Yeah.
because if you translate in your head from your mother tongue to English, then it becomes difficult to be fluent. So
Mhm.
they don't know exactly how to do that, how to develop that habit of thinking in English. Then
Absolutely.
I understand everything, but I can't speak. I understand when I watch movie, when I read books, I understand. But when it comes to speaking, I go blank.
All
This is the
right.
second one. Then third one is vocabulary. I can say this first one as well. First and foremost, people
Mhm.
find it difficult when it comes to how to exactly learn vocabulary, and after learning they don't know exactly how to implement it. Is in their passive mind, but
Right.
how can they bring up into their active mind?
All
These
right.
are the main, yeah, queries I find.
See, when it comes to reading books, because what has happened is some people have learnt the language, they've studied the language at a school level or at a college level or at some point in their time in life. But what happens when you study a language? You understand the basics of the language, right? But speaking the same language is very different. Some kids,
Mm.
when they grow up in an environment, like let's assume in a state based in the north, let's assume that, like in Delhi, a lot
Mm.
of students speak in Hindi. Usually that's the language we grew
Yeah,
up in.
Hindi is the main language in northern part.
But if we say,
Mm.
if we ask them to write in Hindi, that becomes a problem. They don't like studying the language. They don't like studying the grammar.
Mm.
Sometimes in English, because it is not our native language as such, what
Mm.
happens is you know how to study it, you know how to read it. But the problem in that case is you can't speak it. That is the case. To counter that, some people, they have very generic solutions like read books, listen to podcasts. See, this is where you're again refurbishing your listening, understanding, and ability to read in terms of English. But your
Mm.
task, the main task of spoken English is not being met here. Right?
Mm.
The reason being, if you're not kind of ticking the box of speaking that particular language, then how
Mm-hmm.
are you trying to say that your spoken English gets improved by only listening? So,
Mm.
a humble suggestion for those people who are into listening to podcasts or reading books would be, if you listen to a podcast for anybody, would be whatever you've learned from the podcast, either start speaking the brief of it or call a friend to tell them or something, whatever is comfortable in your dynamics. Number one. Number two, or you pause the podcast wherever you've learned an idiom or a phrase or a new word or new sentence or anything that you find is something new for you. You
Mm-hmm.
pause the podcast there and you start to speak that because your pronunciation
Okay.
gets checked through the podcast.
Yes.
You learn a lot and you don't have to write it down because if you're just maintaining notes, there is
Mm-hmm.
a very rare chance you actually go back to those notes and you use them.
Yes. True.
But if people say that have a lot of notes, but we don't know how to use those words, the basic suggestion in that case would be if you have a lot of words, don't
Mm-hmm.
try to learn words. Replace the words that you know them. Like
Okay.
if you know
Mm-hmm.
risky is a very common word. You might use it, okay,
Mm-hmm.
driving in the rain is risky. We say
Mm-hmm.
that. You learned this word precarious, which you know is risky, dicey, can be used in those terms. So if
Mm-hmm.
you use your basic vocabulary word risky with precarious, your vocabulary gets polished. So every time you
Mm-hmm.
would want to use risky, you will go back to precarious. So you start replacing your
Okay.
vocabulary rather than only trying to learn vocabulary. Because if you are a
Okay.
working professional, if you're not a school student, your
Mm-hmm.
entire day does not only revolve around learning. Your day has
Yes.
multiple other aspects to it. And
Mm.
I think through your platform also, your audience will be of different age groups. So
Yes.
I think, I am not sure, I'm just making an
Mm-hmm.
assumption that you might face this question as well. When people come to you that how do I balance it with other factors? What activities can I do when
Mm-hmm.
I have a busy schedule? How do I go about
Yes.
learning something new? So this is how
Mm-hmm.
they can learn because if they know something of it, if they are not
Mm-hmm.
starting exactly from scratch, if your goal is fluency, if your goal is vocabulary, if your goal is polishing your accent, then you can start off from this point. But with that, I am not saying in any way that listening is also not important. Until you listen, you cannot speak. So listening to
True.
is
Mm-hmm.
equally important. But yes, having your grammar or your basics cleared. I am not saying you have to study it daily. But
Mm-hmm.
until the point you've reached or you feel like you've reached the level you were wanting to achieve, let's not stop. And there
Mm-hmm.
are students, I think you might also be getting a lot of subscribers and people, the ones who are your audience, that they've
Mm-hmm.
reached a level they wanted to reach, and then they think that they don't need to push forward anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes this might happen. If not, then sometimes you might interact or may interact with a person in the near future because they feel I wanted to reach here and my language was the only barrier. I've reached here, so I don't need to do more. Why? Because
Mm-hmm.
I always tell people that language in English or any other language is very funny. So language cannot be mastered. It can only be polished the more and more
Evolve,
you speak.
right? With
Absolutely.
time, it can evolve.
Yes.
Mm.
Like in the recent case, there were certain Gen Z slangs which were added to the English dictionary.
Mm.
That I genuinely don't
Mm.
know Gen Z slangs. I
Yes.
probably won't even understand if a young kid is talking to me. But then the deal is that those words have been, not legally, but through English as a literature part, have been
Mm.
recognized. So we have to stay upbeat with it. So I can never say I've mastered a language. I'm pretty sure even
Yes.
Shashi Tharoor doesn't feel like he's mastered a
He's
language.
mastering. He is also maybe learning every day. Even it happens
Absolutely.
to me. I have my niece. She's
Mm-hmm.
in 10th class now.
Right.
She always writes the abbreviation
Mm.
IDK ASAP
I
as soon as
understand.
possible. Some I understand, but many I don't understand. I feel
I
like, what
understand.
are you writing? I don't understand.
Especially if you're in the professional field, you have to cross-check the emails or anything that you're sending. Because I have to make a point that whatever I'm
Mm-hmm.
working on the professional side, I have to cross-check whether I've just not used a single alphabet or something like that. Sometimes even the keyboards have a habit of auto-correcting things into, abbreviations. You have to be
Mm-hmm.
really careful about that also. So these things, language is
Mm-hmm.
proper language. Of course, until and unless it's put in a dictionary, you can't say, ki, okay, you can use that as a proper language word. But language is infinite, all in all. So this is some of the ways you can enhance it. Second, there are different activities which can be done by different people according to the needs and situations that they are in. Some people
Mm-hmm.
might be working professionals whose profession
Mm-hmm.
revolves around communication. For example, they might be in sales or marketing where they have to present themselves in front of people. They have to give presentations. They have to talk to
Mm-hmm.
clients. They have to talk to industrialists and so on and so forth. In this
Mm-hmm.
particular case, my only guidance would be the development of personality also with language.
Okay, communication skill like hand gesture, body movement, how to stand exactly,
Absolutely.
right? These
Because
things
sometimes,
matters. Mm-hmm.
exactly. And like you said in the beginning of the video, I actually recommended to everybody that stop translating from your native language. The reason
Mm-hmm.
I say that is not just because it's a different language. It is because
Mm-hmm.
the native language grammar might be very different from what English language grammar might be.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we say whatever we want to say in our native language completely and we forget that there are certain English words missing in English. Our translation, our words are lost in the translation. And the problem might be accuracy through translation. It might not actually be that you don't know English. But the
Mm-hmm.
very fact you're only deriving from the translation might be the gap. Sometimes
Mm-hmm.
when they have to introduce themselves, they're absolutely accurate. You will not even feel that they don't know English
Mm-hmm.
because it is
Because
just
they have marked up,
gaps.
they have crammed that. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Sometimes it's just these basic issues. Sometimes, they're not able to understand or analyze on their own as to where do
Mm-hmm.
I lag. And sometimes they realize, okay, this was the only mistake that was I was doing. And
Mm-hmm.
certain small activities or regular activities can absolutely fix that. But yes, I would also say that sometimes people take just speaking a particular language so much to heart that their entire personality starts getting affected. They lose
Mm-hmm.
confidence. They feel
Mm-hmm.
they start going into a shell where they feel that if don't speak in English to a person who's
Mm-hmm.
absolutely fluent in the language, I don't think I will be judged. They have a
Mm-hmm.
mental mindset. What if the person thinks like this about me? What will
Mm-hmm.
happen if this happens? So they have a lot of what ifs. So getting them out of the zone. So I would also say that, not only English, not only the language, but working on the psychological factor also to help them build their confidence, that also plays
Mm-hmm.
a major role for them to actually be able to speak the language. If you teach them, if you make a child learn, they will
Mm-hmm.
go and speak the same word point to point. But if you
Mm-hmm.
ask them something out of the blue, if you
Mm-hmm.
question them on that, sometimes the child also goes quiet. So
Yeah.
it can also happen to an adult. Usually children are not the ones who get, they don't have any inhibitions about people. They don't
Yes, yes. They
get
don't care actually. What comes in their mind, they just speak
exactly.
up without
They
any
say
hesitation. But in
exactly.
adult case, we think a lot. What if I make mistake? What if people are gonna judge me? So it's better to stay away from the situation, right?
Absolutely. Because our brains develop, we develop our fears. Sometimes what has
Mm.
happened in our childhood, incidents, comments
Mm-hmm.
passed by friends, or some incident might
Yes.
have left some impact, and
Mm.
sometimes we interpret things negatively. Our brain works in a million ways. And what
Mm.
psychological impact some situation might have obviously impacts different parts of our lives. So that is, have to trying to reverse that and getting a person out of that might take a little bit of time. So another
Mm.
suggestion for anybody who's watching this, if I'm able to help anybody out, would be that don't compare your journey to somebody. If you're
True.
watching a podcaster, if they're watching us have a conversation, I am
Mm-hmm.
sure we both have had our own share of struggles and trying to
Mm-hmm.
get hold of the language. It has taken years. I mean,
True.
if I have started speaking ever since I was a child, I must
Okay.
have made million mistakes and I must have learned. People must have corrected me. And till date,
Mm-hmm.
maybe I learned from you. Maybe you would bring a word to the table that I don't know the meaning of. Maybe we Google
Mm.
it, we realize, and we share it on this platform. So I will
True.
not say that I'm a master of the language. I say I'm still a learner. And that goes for anybody.
Mm.
But everybody's
Mm.
journey is different. Then I am sure you might also be getting this kind of a situation where people talk about accent. How do I improve
Yes.
my accent? Or, you
Mostly
know,
that mother tongue influence.
exactly.
Mhm.
So I always suggest because everybody wants to learn to do that because they've
Mm-hmm.
watched movies, they've watched TV shows and listen to music which is of a different slang or has a different accent. So in
Mm-hmm.
that case, first of all native languages have a different slang. You have a different
Yes.
tongue. If you go to the
Mm.
southern part of India, there R's, the word R, the alphabet R in their words rolls better.
Rose. Mm.
Yes, they might not use their entire jaw. If you go to the northern
Mm.
side, if I talk about extremely north or
Mm-hmm.
extremely northeast, their
Mm-hmm.
mouths work in a different way. Their muscles move in a different way. If we go to central India, we go to
Mm-hmm.
northern part of India like Haryana, we go to Delhi, and we go to Punjab, their mouths and their tongues roll in a different way. So everybody's pronunciation does get affected by their local language. If you go to Rajasthan side,
Mm-hmm.
Gujarat side, they might slur some of their words because that is their mother tongue. That is their native
Mm-hmm.
language, not mother tongue, but native language. Now, in
Mm-hmm.
this particular case, for a language
Mm-hmm.
like English and for you to not have
Mm-hmm.
a basic accent of the same native language into a proper language, you have to clean your palate for English
Okay.
until your mind adapts to that fluency. So,
Mm-hmm.
tongue twisters, activities
Okay.
which help you get over slur or particular that helps you open your mouth. Because when you talk about English, whether American or British,
Mm-hmm.
British have a very clear pronunciation of every word with more emphasis on R and the second half of the word.
Mm-hmm.
Americans have a emphasis on only the second half of the word. Like if I say water,
Okay.
we say water in British,
Yes. British, yeah.
this is English, and we say water because
Water in
that is the
American.
only emphasis that we have in American English. So it depends on
Mm-hmm.
what you're trying to adapt. You'll have to understand where the emphasis for the word goes. Emphasis, pronunciation, and the emotion that you put into the word is when you realize your natural accent. You can clean up your palate, but don't try to adapt a foreign accent. Try to pronounce words better through all these activities so that
Yes.
you improve your natural accent and improve your pronunciation of the word. You will realize your accent. Then your accent
Mm.
will not sound fake, it will be real,
Yes.
and all effort will only be going into what language you're speaking rather than just thinking about how am I pronouncing this word, whether am I pronouncing it correctly or not, because then again you will feel stuck.
Mm.
And again, these problems might incur. So that's how we'll have to work around these problems. So this is what we need to do.
In my learning journey, I have faced the challenge when it comes to pronunciation. And still, till today, I learn every day how to pronounce each and every word. I feel like that we should learn. And as I come from the vernacular medium, so it was a hard nut to crack for me, to be honest. But yeah, as you have said, that no one can say I have mastered this language, and it takes time. But again, by doing the tongue twisters, and when it comes to listening, I think it helps because when we read, we don't know exactly if someone is there to guide us, that okay, the word you should pronounce like that, or if we make mistake, that someone is there to correct us, then it's fine. Otherwise, when we listen to the good speakers, it may be the Indian speakers or it may be the foreigners, then we can exactly follow that how they're putting the stress, how they're pronouncing certain words, and we can also try to imitate. And when it comes to that mother tongue influence, we all have certain problem with certain sounds. And if we are able to, for example, with myself, I have the ch sound problem. I don't know why. Because in our mother tongue also we say ch sound. We use it. But whenever I say chicks, children, chase, now I am
Focus more on
deliberately doing.
sound than ch together. It's more on the C part than CH.
Yeah, is more, it comes like sa sound little bit. For example, six chicks. So in place of chicks, it comes like six, like that. So I have been trying to work on more and
Tongue
more.
twisters for
And
this.
I'm doing tongue
Yeah.
twisters. Yeah.
This helps you open up and try to speak as much as you can in terms of ch words. And then you
Okay.
have to realize because the sound has to come from here. Sometimes when we speak
Mm-hmm.
only from the face, our
Mm-hmm.
sound is very different. But when we have to add
Okay.
weight to the sound, either we
Mm.
speak from the stomach, we speak from the throat, or we speak from the mouth. So these are three areas. If you add more sound from your stomach, it will be deeper. Some people who give
Mm-hmm.
speeches or that,
Yes.
you
Mm-hmm.
have to
Mm-hmm.
modulate your voice also. So all of these factors play a major role.
Yeah. And it takes a lot of time. It
Absolutely.
takes. Mm.
Once you get a hold of it, you crack the code, then your brain
Mm-hmm.
gets used to it as to how you go about it. Then you don't really
Mm-hmm.
have to put in an effort. Your effort only has to be till the point you've cracked the code. That's where you
Mm-hmm.
have to just apply your brains to.
Yeah, and now I become conscious. Whenever I use the sound, my brain becomes conscious. Okay,
That
you have
happens.
to put a
That
stress
happens.
like the
Yes,
sound, like that.
absolutely.
And one thing, what as we have discussed about translation method, I feel that earlier it was different. Earlier we didn't have the smartphone. We couldn't. watch movies like that. So the teacher used to just teach students by doing the grammar method and then translation method because they didn't have a other option. But now we can easily learn any language by watching, and then by watching movies or shows, we can just observe and then we can learn by doing the imitation.
All
Yeah.
right. That was great talking to you. We've just run out of time. I'm so sorry. I have to.
Okay, okay. Yeah, okay.
And I hope to meet you again and have more discussions and maybe help
Sure.
a lot more people together. Thank you so much.
Definitely it was an insightful session. Thank you so much.